welcome back to GradGirlRambles. It's Brianna with another video. So as I'm kind of going through my semester, I was just thinking about all of the things that I've kind of learned throughout the past 3 years in my program. I'm in my fourth year, I'm a doctoral candidate, like things are really moving very quickly. And as I'm kind of working with some like applicants this semester, some who are applying to school psych programs, whether it's like EDS or PhD, I'm kind of thinking back on some of the things that really helped me in my first year. So it's not quite related to the application, but I'm thinking about what really helped me get here to where I am, because some of them are kind of like these hidden things. You hear people talking about the hidden curriculum of academia, and it's very real. And sometimes you don't know if you need to do things a certain way or whatever it is. So I just wanted to share some tips. I'll call them grad school cheat codes that I've kind of learned along the way. So the first one is, I don't know how many people think this, but grad school is not just like undergrad all over again. I think for some people they're like, okay, so I'm taking classes, so I have to study, I have to read, I'm writing, I'm taking exams, whatever is the norm in your field, but it's a lot more than that. Some people view grad school as a job, and I'm kind of in the between, because I do view it as a job when it comes to like my responsibilities and my workload, but I also recognize that I am still in training, I am in school, and a lot of that kind of reflects why it's not the same as undergrad. In undergrad, you can sometimes you can kind of coast by doing the minimum, and I think there are definitely ways to maximize your time and your efficiency in grad school, but I wouldn't say it's the same way as in undergrad. You know, you're not just going to class and then reading your notes and studying for an exam. Everything you're doing in these programs is in preparation for a career in whatever field that is. So for me, a lot of the things I'm learning in class are going to be applied in a lot of the settings that I'm in. So for practicum, you know, in the schools, this year I'm in a private practice. A lot of what I've been learning, I'm like doing it right now. And the other part of it is, for me at least, my workload is way over what most people would consider like a full-time job, like 40 hours a week. I'm doing way more than that because I'm doing my classes. I have my assistantship, which is 20 hours in itself. I'm doing the work for my classes. I have 2 days of practicum, and then my research, like my dissertation, like these 5 things, way more than 40 hours. And as much as I try to kind of keep it contained, sometimes it just goes overboard. So just be wary about that. There are a lot of things that might be the same. Like I had to relearn how to study for things, because you do study, it's just not the same, because I was working for a few years before I went to grad school. So keep that in mind. The other thing is developing like a writing routine. So if you are in a research focused program, you're going to be doing a lot of writing, whether it's your research, your advisor's research, writing for class. And something I had to learn very early was what kind of writing routine worked for me. Some people suggested doing like 1 to 2 hours every day. Like in the morning, they were like, oh, I wake up at 6 and I just write for 2 hours, and then that's all I do for each day. And that's fine for some people. I am not an early riser, so that was never going to be an option for me. But what really helps for me is working in like 3 to 5 hour chunks a couple times a week. Because if I am just working for 1 to 2 hours, I don't feel like that's enough time for me to really get focused, and I don't feel like I make a lot of progress. But if I just sit there, it's really easy for me to kind of just like start writing and keep going. And then there are some people who only write once a week and they just do it all day. I tried that my first year, and at the time I didn't even have that much to be writing, where writing all day was even an option. But just trying to figure out what works for you, just knowing that it's going to be a little different for other people. Textbooks. Textbooks are a huge one, especially for classes that aren't necessarily in your area of interest. So for me, I bought the books that are like considered essential in the field. So for school So for school psychology, those are the best practices books, the 4 set volume. I bought those because we use them in several classes throughout my time in the program, and they're a good set of books to have. Other books, if they were in a topic that I found interesting, I would, rent it or I would buy it if I thought I would use it. But a lot of my books I either borrowed from advanced students or borrowed them from the interlibrary loan at my university's library. I think a lot of people forget about that. If they notice that their library doesn't have a book, they just kind of go and figure it out somewhere else. But a lot of the libraries can borrow books from other universities, so I highly recommend doing that. If your program has some kind of like cohort model where you come in with a group of students and you generally kind of work through the program, go throughout the program together, I think it would be a really good day to have some kind of central repository for important documents related to classes, program policies. So for me, I started our cohorts like Google Drive in our first year, and we store syllabi on there, important readings that we've needed for classes. We have a folder for like internship resources because about half of us are applying to internship this year. So a lot of information that will be helpful for everyone is kept there. And it's really helpful also if your program does your comprehensive exams obviously using the material from your past classes. So whatever you need to study, it would be helpful for you all to have the same information or at least be able to access it in a similar way. So another thing is signing up for listservs. I know listservs people have a lot of feelings about them, but especially for people who have very specific interests that maybe your program doesn't go directly into training for certain opportunities or certain populations you're interested in working with, especially in the psych field in general. APA has over 50 divisions, and a lot of them have their own listservs where they share information that's very specific to whatever division it is. And I think I signed up I joined two or three divisions specific to child and adolescent psychology, because that's my area. And school psychology, that's also our area because it's school based. But for me, I wanted some more information about more clinical practice and research as well. So I signed up for those, and I get information and I have access to certain webinars or professional development opportunities in that way. And then the last thing is funding. So every program is different. Some programs are really good at sharing funding opportunities for students. Mine is okay, but I've been really diligent in looking for funding opportunities. So whether it's for conference travel or just research costs, I have gotten some to support my research. So I've been able to pay participants in that way. I've gotten some for traveling to conferences, for presenting at conferences, and our graduate school also has funding for people who are attending them. It's called a Professional Development Travel Award. So things like that, even if they're, $200-$300, that is really helpful because it is really expensive to go to those conferences, but they're really great opportunities to network and get to see what other people in your field of interest are doing. I think there are definitely a lot of things that we aren't really taught how to do once you enter graduate school, but I just wanted to share those things because I felt like those are things that were really important for me coming into my program. And as I kind of talk with prospective students who are applying this year, kind of sprinkling little things here and there about that as well. So those are my grad school cheat codes. I hope they're helpful, and I will check in with you guys later. That's all. Bye.